when Eniton got in touch and asked me to review their newest watch, the S1112G, a name that absolutely rolls off the tongue, the first thing I did was check the specs. And it raised a question: how much am I prepared to pay for a more premium Chinese watch with a bog-standard automatic movement in it? The answer I kept coming back to was about 200 quid, including customs charges and delivery. But only if it was really, 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 really good. So this one should be a hard pass, but then it arrived and it's completely blown my perspective apart. And as usual, I'll be giving this one away to one of my channel members, so if you fancy the chance of grabbing this, and every other watch that comes in for review, then please consider joining the Fully Lumed family by hitting the join button below the video. And while you're there, a like and subscribe would be amazing, thanks. Right, let's get on with the review. Now let's get things straight, this isn't my sort of watch, it's a bit too blingy and showy for what I usually go for. But first impressions, all I can say is wow, this is absolutely stunning. It also feels weirdly familiar and original at the same time. It's definitely going to attract attention, so thankfully, when you get the inevitable question of what's that, you'll be happy that Eniton have a reasonably normal sounding brand name that's easy to pronounce and doesn't sound like a mishmash of random letters, a number and the noise of a couple of cats fighting outside your bedroom window at 4 AM. But the actual watch looks quality. Everything from the packaging to the materials to the finishing feels genuinely like something you get from a European brand. As long as you conveniently ignore the movement inside. Although, should you choose not to ignore it, Eniton have done something we rarely see in lower end Swiss watches, never mind Chinese watches, by individually testing and timing every piece that leaves the factory and providing a readout for you. This movement, for example, came in at +4 seconds a day. That's well within COSC, and for me, that counts for something. Specs-wise, you get in a nicely compact 38mm stainless steel case with a tight 43.5mm Lug-to-Lug and a reasonable 11.5mm thickness. It comes with a Sapphire Crystal, a screw-down crown and screw-down solid case back, and Eniton claims this combination achieves just 50 metres of water resistance, although I suspect that's a case of the brand being conservative and protecting itself from any negative feedback, rather than a watch that's likely to spring a leak. It comes fitted with a decent 5-link bracelet with glide lock style on-the-fly adjustment clasp, but the clear centrepiece here is that stunning aventurine stone dial, finished with applied BGW9 Lume markers. Oh, and of course, that bog-standard NH35, running at COSC standards. Moving on to the case, and the star of the show is undoubtedly this fluted bezel. It's sharply finished, catches the light from every conceivable angle and looks properly expensive. It is also very blingy. If you're the sort of person that likes understated watches, this probably isn't going to be for you. This thing wants to be noticed. The rest of the case takes a familiar oyster-style approach, but with a few key differences. Firstly, it's 38mm in diameter, which leaves it occupying a bit of a sweet spot all on its own. For my wrist, this genuinely feels close to ideal. It has enough presence to feel sporty and masculine, but without drifting into more elegant territory that 36mm watches often find themselves in. But the finishing does push it firmly into dressy territory. Everything is polished, the top surfaces, the side, the lot. There's no brushing anywhere to break things up, which means it spends most of its time reflecting absolutely everything around it. The crown is a detail that I've grown rather fond of. It's absolutely tiny, which, aesthetically, is exactly the right decision for this sort of watch. A larger crown would look completely out of place. The downside is that it's also a screw-down crown, and, genuinely, one of the most fiddly I've ever used. Not because the tolerances are poor, quite the opposite. It's buttery smooth in operation. The challenge is simply getting enough of your fingers around it in the first place. Thankfully, adjusting the time isn't something you do every day, because despite the occasional wrestle required to unscrew it, I wouldn't change the design at all. The caseback features a simple Rolex Tudor style design, which I think is absolutely the right choice here. Nobody wants to see a movement through a sapphire window that, no matter how good it may be, is about as visually exciting as the clutch bell housing from a 1998 Renault Megane Scenic. But let's be honest, we all know what the main attraction is here. It's this dial. Now, aventurine isn't exactly new. Plenty of brands have used it over the years, and frankly, some have done a much better job of advertising that fact than they have of actually designing the dial around it. Because an aventurine dial on its own doesn't automatically make a watch look expensive. In fact, get the rest of the execution wrong and it can end up looking a bit tacky. Thankfully, this isn't what Eniton have done here, because whilst the aventurine is what initially catches your eye, it's everything around it that makes it work. The applied markers are beautifully finished, they're sharply faceted, highly polished and catch the light almost as well as the dial itself. The handset follows the same approach. Every edge looks crisp and the finishing throughout is exactly what you'd expect from a watch trying to justify its price point. And that's really the thing that keeps surprising me about this watch. Everywhere you look, it feels like somebody with skill and care has handled it. The logo is applied rather than printed, the text is kept to a minimum, and nothing feels like it's been cheapened to offset the cost of the stone dial. Because that's usually where watches like this fall apart. The dial gets all the budget, then the hands are rubbish, or the indices are disappointing, or the finishing doesn't quite live up to the photographs, and that isn't the case here. The aventurine might grab the attention, but the markers, hands, and overall execution are what stop it feeling like a gimmick. The one thing I'm slightly less convinced by is the date window. Personally, I'd have probably left it off entirely. The dial is beautifully balanced, and like most date windows, it does interrupt that symmetry a little. That said, if a date complication is a non-negotiable requirement for you, then Eniton have handled it about as well as they possibly could. Would I prefer a no-date version? Absolutely. But after a few days on the wrist, I wasn't really that fussed about it. And the result is a watch that somehow manages to look expensive without feeling tasteless. Which, given the polished case and the fluted bezel, isn't something I thought could be pulled off. Now, once the lights go out, the aventurine stops doing what aventurine does, but fortunately, the Lume doesn't. The BGW9 application on both the hands and markers is excellent. Initial brightness is strong, legibility is superb, and importantly, it lasts. Several hours after charging, and there's still plenty of glow left to comfortably read the time. No, it's not going to challenge a Seiko diver for outright brightness, but for a watch that's clearly prioritising elegance over utility, the Lume performance is genuinely impressive. On the wrist, and this one looks about perfect on my 6¼ inch wrist. It's comfortable, fairly light, and slim enough to disappear under a cuff without trouble. The bracelet deserves a mention too. It's one of the best I've come across in this sort of price bracket. The finishing is excellent, the articulation is superb, and it feels like it's received the same level of attention as the rest of the watch. The clasp is probably my only real complaint. I understand why they've done it. It's clearly inspired by the latest Tudor design, and it functions brilliantly, but it does feel rather large. If you've got normal sized wrists, I doubt you'll ever notice. But for those of us with wrists roughly the same diameter as a McDonald's straw, it does feel a little cumbersome, simply because it occupies most of the underside of the wrist. That said, it's exceptionally well made, beautifully finished, and the on-the-fly adjustment works exactly as it should. And that brings us back to the question, how much am I prepared to pay for a premium Chinese watch with a bog-standard automatic movement? Before this arrived, my answer would have been about 200 quid. Now, apparently, a bit more than that. Because whilst the NH35 remains the least interesting thing about this watch, absolutely everything around it is executed to a standard that's genuinely surprised me. The case is excellent, the bracelet is excellent, the clasp is excellent, and that dial is absolutely stunning. And whilst this isn't really a watch I would personally spend my own money on, I can completely understand why somebody else would. At £280, I think it more than justifies its asking price. If you love the look, there genuinely aren't many negatives to talk about. I highly recommend it. And one of my channel members is going to be very, very lucky when this eventually finds its way into the giveaway draw. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.